Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 10 of What If Naruto was a League Summoner. If you guys enjoy this What If and want to see part 11 of it, comment down below and let me know. I have created a playlist for this What If where you can find all the previous parts, link is in the description. And go ahead and check out other What Ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. It was the day after the Battle of Kuo Academy. Reinforcements of the Demon King had arrived shortly after the battle was over, but there wasn't much for them to do besides taking care of the injuries and taking reports of what happened from them. Naruto, who had fought Kakabiel half of the time, while merging with the Nivea, gaining the self-regeneration power of a phoenix, was the only one beside Ashia that did not have any injuries, because he healed up immediately after being hit. Ahari had also returned to Runeterra shortly after she had made sure that Ashia was stable, with the promise of finishing her works at Bilgewater very soon to come and live with him in his house. It had been then revealed that Grafia had been teleported to an area near the border of the underworld, close to a place that was known as the Realm of the Dead, ruled by the Greek god Hades. There, she had been held back by a combined force of Kakabiel's fallen angels followers and rogue Grim Reapers, though it was not something the silver-haired Queen of Annihilation couldn't have handled. She had defeated all of them to break out of the barriers that Kakabiel had created to contain her and slow her process of returning to Kuo, where she had apologized to him and Rias for not being able to get to them sooner, but after what she had done back at home. Shielding his mother and Ashia from the blast of Kakabiel's first attack, which had also been the only reason the cadre could have teleported her away without her not being able to get out his teleportation magic circle. Naruto couldn't really bring himself to be angry at her, not in the slightest, just like his master. His house had been rebuilt, and to make sure that his mother wouldn't remember anything of the horrifying experience, they had let Grafia take care of her with a memory-altering spell. It was fortunate that his father was on a business trip that day, and wouldn't return till the end of the week, or else they would have to do the same thing to him. As much as Naruto wanted to tell his parents the truth, though he was also aware that one day that he would have to do so. It's just that it hadn't been a good time to make that kind of decision. Kuo Academy had also been completely rebuilt in the same night, but not by the devils. Naruto had heard a rumor that it was the Fallen who had rebuilt it as a means of reparations towards Sona and Rias for Kakabiel's actions. Currently the academy was where Naruto found himself, with him finding his way to the new clubroom of the Occult Research Club. Fighting and winning a life and death battle did not mean that he could skip school the day after, not when the president of the student council was someone like Sona Citri. Hey, Naruto Uzumaki. Catching a familiar voice when he walked into the clubroom, Naruto turned his head and widened his eyes when he saw the exorcist Zenobia waving her hand at him while sitting on the couch with Rias and the others, wearing the Kuo Academy school uniform for girls. Why are you still here? The blonde couldn't help but ask in surprise, but with no other hard feeling, not after the battle they had fought together. And why are you wearing our school uniform? Zenobia then looked at Rias, and she clicked her fingers, making a pair of devil wings appear on the blue-haired girl's back. You see, I found out that God is gone, so I made the decision to become a devil like a self-forsaking. It seems that I'm not as valuable as Durandal is, so I was able to become a devil with just a night piece. As of now, I am a second-year student and also a member of the club. Having the Durandal wielder sure make me feel more confident. Rias started with a smile. With that, we now have 2 swordsmen in our group, together with Yudo. I see. Naruto nodded his head in understanding and then summoned Yumi, allowing his feline familiar and her companion to float over to Kaneko, who had prepared a lot of snacks to share. But are you sure about this? I mean, there's no going back once you have been reincarnated, you know. Yes. I know that I'm a demon now. Zenobia answered his statement, but maybe that was a good thing, serving under a devil who was once my enemy, and not to mention that she is also the sister of a demon king. In any case, if you don't mind me asking, where's Irina Shido? I thought you came back with her. Irina returned to headquarters this morning, along with Valper's corpse and the Excalibur broken fragments. Our mission to recover was accomplished, even though the Excalibur was broken again, but if they have the pieces, they can use alchemy to make new Excalibur holy swords again. Zenobia explained with a sigh, I also have to return Excalibur Destruction, and let Irina take it back. Unlike Durandal, which has chosen me as its wielder, they can choose others to wield the swords once they have been taken back. Having Durandal is enough for me. Don't they want you back? Naruto asked as he sat down next to Ashia, and grabbed a cup of tea. You are the wielder of Durandal after all, so you must be very valuable to them. Not after what I have discovered. Zenobia shook her head and explained that to him. When I mentioned the death of God to them, they went silent. I became an outsider because I knew of his death, and it is an understatement to say that the church hates outsiders and heresy very much. Even if that person is the bearer of Durandal, they will cut them off without mercy, in exactly the same way as the Ashia Argento incident, even though she is a holy maiden, and her sacred gear Twilight healing isn't something that you can come around every day. Irina was lucky. The blue-haired girl continued with a small, somewhat sad laugh, because she wasn't fighting with us on the battlefield because of her injuries. She ended up not knowing the truth. She has a stronger belief than I do. As she found out about God, I don't know what would have happened to her. Naruto could understand that, instinctively glancing over to Ashia, who had gotten somewhat better. Even though she had chosen to become a devil, Ashia still believed in God and prayed to him, no matter how many painful headaches praying brought her, and like the blonde, Naruto could see that Arena seemed to have a very firm belief in God. So it would have been very painful for her if she had discovered the truth that night. In the worst case, they would take it that their whole life had been rejected. Well, she was really disappointed that I chose to become a devil, so we had difficulty saying goodbye to each other. Perhaps we would be enemies the next time we meet. Zenobia said as she narrowed her eyes. Ah yes, about that. Riaz began, speaking up after she had confirmed that every member of her club was present. The church, representing heaven, has made contact with us devils, more precisely the Demon King, that have relationships with the ones who were involved in this accident. The truth about this incident had been to the leaders of the three factions. The thieving of Excaliburs and war declaration were both actions taken by Kakabi alone. So the other leaders of Grigori, mostly Azazel, did not know anything about it. Moreover, Azazel seems to want to finally break the tension between the three sides. But I admit that fallen angel guy is awfully misinformed, first Rainer and now Kakabiel. Naruto muttered distastefully before continuing, what happened to Kakabiel by the way? I hope that the fallen didn't let him off the hook that easily. You don't have to worry about that, Naruto. Ria shook her head and said with a small smile, because he tried to start another great war, he was placed in Cocytus for eternity in a frozen state. Sound like what the Fulgordians did to the Watchers, to prevent them from starting another void invasion. Naruto said, and when he saw the look of confusion everyone, Riaz and Kaneko was giving him, he added with a sheepish chuckle, League's lore, don't worry about it. Nonetheless, there will be a meeting between representatives of angels, devils and fallen angels very soon. Apparently, there is something Azazel wants to talk about, but I doubt that it's an apology for Kakabiel's action. Riaz continued with the Shogui, along with the Citri group, are invited to this meeting. We have to report the incident, because we were involved. Whoa, you serious? Naruto wasn't the only one who was surprised by Ria's words, as everyone around the room had an expression of shock on their faces. Naruto, I want you to be very careful when you meet him. Riaz continued as she turned her head over to look at Naruto. The leader of the fallen angel is gathering people who have Longinus tier sacred gear. No one knows what he is thinking, but it is definitely something that is not good. Yours isn't one of the 13 Longinus, but no one has ever seen or heard of it before, and his potential is as great if not even greater than the top tier 3, so surely that he will take an interest in you. When you say it like that, it sounds like he wants to cut me open to study me like the scientists in those sci-fi movies. Don't worry Naruto-kun, I will protect you. Kibayudo spoke up from his position, raising his hand while having a big smile on his face. It appeared that he had returned to his old self, even though they couldn't completely destroy the Excaliburs, and had to let them get taken back to the church. It was a good thing that Kiba had chosen to leave his need for revenge behind him. Yes, there's no way in hell that we are going to let something like that happen to you, Naruto. Riaz declared determinedly, making Naruto grin at her and the rest of the club, as they wholeheartedly supported the idea. Alright, I think that's enough politics for today. It's about time we start our club activity again. Yay? The Occult Research Club replied to their president with an energetic voice. Naruto was about to invite Ashia for a rank game, when suddenly Zenobia walked toward her and tapped her lightly on the shoulder, gaining her attention. Ashia Argento, I would like to apologize to you, for saying those ugly things, and for trying to kill you. She began, making Ashia's green eyes whiten in surprise. Since God does not exist anymore, then his love and help did not do so well. I'm sorry, Ashia. If you want to hit me, do as much as you want. The former exorcist finished, banging her head down in a way of apologizing. Her expression hadn't changed even a bit, so it was hard to tell whether she truly meant it or not. No, it's alright, Zenobia-san. Ashia said while waving her hand at the taller girl, I don't really care about any of that, really. I'm having fun with my current lifestyle, even though I am a devil now. I have met people who are important to me. I am happy because of the place I live in now and the people I met. I see you are really the holy maiden, Ashia Argento. Zenobia nodded her head with a glimpse of sadness in Zenobia's eyes, before she gave Ashia a small smile, and turned around to leave. There are some other things that I need to know before finish transferring to this school. So if you excuse me I will have to take my leave for now. Before the girl could leave the room, however, Ashia had reached out to her and said with an unsure smile, the next weekend, I'm going out to head out to play with my friends in class. Would you like to go too, Zenobia-san? Zenobia's eyes whitened in shock and then smiled bitterly. How about next time? This time I'm not interested. Except. Zenobia then told it to Ashia with a warm smile. Can you take me around the school next time? Yes. Ashia replied with a brilliant smile. With that, Zenobia turned her head over to look at Kiba, and told him with a strong look in her eyes, "In the name of my holy sword, Durandal, I would also like to have a battle with the holy demonic sword user again." "Alright then." Kiba smiled fearlessly back at his fellow knight, before replying as Zenobia took her leave from their clubroom, "I will not lose to you." Naruto couldn't help but smile at that. It appeared that Zenobia would fit right in with their group. Ding. Dong. "I got it." Naruto spoke loudly so everyone in the house could hear, putting the bowl of potato chips down before standing up and making his way out of the living room to answer the doorbell. "Uzumaki-san, I presume?" A middle-aged man asked when Naruto opened the door, revealing himself to be a delivery man with a clinical package wrapped in black wrapping paper. "I have a delivery for you, sign here please." The delivery man instructed, handing out an electronic pad and pen for a confused Naruto, who did what he was told before receiving the package. Closing the door behind him, Naruto then used a finger to tear the wrapping paper down, to see what was inside. He didn't remember ordering anything the past couple of days. What he saw inside almost made him drop the package. "Ah, I believe that's mine," said a voice from the second floor, and Naruto looked up to see Evelyn skipping down the stairs while humming a soft tune. She wasn't wearing her scanty maid outfit, but that did not mean she wasn't particularly naked. "Thank you," she said and tried to snatch the package from his hand, but Naruto beat her to it by holding the thing up in the air out of her arm reach. "Hey, what are you doing? Give me that," she said with an annoyed expression, reaching up and trying to take it from him. "How did you get this with my name on it? Did you use my credit card?" "Yes, I did." "You had a shitton of money, so why bother?" the demoness asked in annoyance. "Because you used my credit card to buy a dildo," he told her pointedly, not knowing how to properly react to the whole ordeal. "I mean, seriously, where did you even get it? And for what? Did you buy it online? Where did you even learn how to use the internet?" Instead of answering his question, Evelyn shot her hand out and grabbed his crotch, squeezing his family jewels so hard that it made Naruto cry out in pain before dropping the package, allowing the ancient demoness to grab it in the air, before sending him stumbling on the floor with a push. "Don't try to take what is mine, Han, or I won't be so gentle next time," Evelyn smirked and told him while rubbing his crotch with her left foot, making Naruto glare up at her. "If that's all, then I will return to my room now. See you tomorrow." "Wait." Naruto called out before she could leave, making Evelyn turn her head around to look at him. "Can I, talk to you for a sec?" "Sure." "Not here, let's go to my room or something," Naruto said and quickly stood up when he saw parents poking their heads out to see what's going on, before quickly making his way to the second floor of his home, making a gesture with his hand for her to follow him. The demoness did just that, walking into his room with him and letting him close the door behind her after turning the light on. "Nice room," Evelyn commented after taking a good look around before looking at him. "So what's up? Finally decide to give in to your desire and have some fun with me?" she asked in a seductive tone while moving closer to him, with her state of clothing working to her advantage. "If so, then there's no need for the dildo. I will ask the shop for a refund." "No, not that." He held up his hands and put them on Evelyn's shoulders to put her back, but that did not stop her from reaching her hand into his pants, and starting to do wonderful things to his manhood, to the point that he became fully erect. "I want to talk about other things. It's about yesterday's night." "What about it? Can you take your hand back first, please? Don't get it wrong." What she was doing to him feel really amazing. The way her hand was moving, how she was stroking and tugging on his length, but it was distracting, and now was not the time for it. "HM, when I found out there was a 17-year-old summoner, I thought you would be more fun than those old geezers at the institute." With that said, Evelyn gave him a firm squeeze before she took her hand back and walked over to his bed to lay down, ass sticking up. "So, what do you want to talk about?" "Comfortable bed, by the way." "Thank you." Naruto did his best to calm down before saying, sitting down on the bed so that he could hide his lurching erection, "I saw how you were protecting my mother when Kakabiel attacked our house last night." "Also notice." "Yes, and I am very grateful," Naruto said with a genuine smile. He had doubted it at first, and he guiltily admitted it, almost convincing himself to believe that she had somehow fallen on top with his mother when the explosion occurred. But when he asked Grafia, she had told him that Evelyn had noticed the presence of Kakabiel almost as soon as she did, and pushed his mother behind her to use her body to protect Kushina from his attack, saving her from getting badly injured before Grafia could finish casting her spell. If it wasn't for her, his mother wouldn't have just got knocked out with a few scratches on her cheeks. "To tell you the truth, I did not expect something like that from you," Naruto said, admitting honestly to the demoness who finally turned to look at him. "I must admit that I have been too judgmental. Kinda hard not to with how my story in that online game of yours portrays as an evil incarnation, isn't it?" Evelyn asked, resting her head on her arm as she turned to her side and supporting herself on her elbow. "It is," Naruto said before he decided to ask her, gesturing his hands toward the busty demoness Evelyn. Why were you, I mean, the way you are right now?" "Oh, so you want to know how I came to this sexy form of mine?" she asked, smiling seductively as she reached her hand down and pulled her ultra-short miniskirt up to show him what's underneath, but only for a second before she said, smiling genuinely for the first time, because that's all I can remember. I start out as something barely sentient, and I would have remained that way if the Rune Wars didn't give me the chance to see the pain and anguish of humans, and those feelings excited me. They gave me reasons to become more than what I was, and I became the demon that you saw here, on your bed. So if you have other reasons to live for, will you change? I don't know, but I guess we will see. To tell you the truth, I'm bored of life in Runeterra, of how I have lived my life the past 15,000 years. I have done everything, seen everything, tried everything and even fucked everything. You get the idea. Naruto couldn't stop himself from sweat dropping at that, so yeah, I wanted a change in life. That's why I asked you to take me in, to see if I can find something else fun to do in this world of yours. Your mother, as hot-headed as she is, isn't so bad. That's why I tried to protect her. I see. Naruto nodded his head in understanding, smiling at her. You have no idea how happy I am to hear that. Though, since I still like to torture people, remember our deal about letting me mess with your enemy. I would have loved to get my hand on that black-winged pointed ears fuckface, if you ask me. After what he tried to do, yeah, I think they should have given him over to you. Naruto grinned. For once he didn't dislike the idea. See, told you that you would meet enemies you want to suffer a fate worse than death. Evelyn smiled before she got up on all four and leaned her face toward him. So, do I get a reward for protecting your dear mother? Didn't you already use my credit card to buy a fucking dildo? Naruto asked with a deadpan expression as he gestured toward the unwrapped box on the bed, considering the money your reward. No chance, I want sex. Can you please speak about it a bit more seriously? Plus, we are not that close. Come on, don't you want to relieve yourself just a little? Evelyn asked with a playful smile before latching on to Naruto from the side, wrapping her slender arms around his neck and rubbing herself against him, her very large breasts pushing against his arm. Don't worry about anything. I will make sure that you have a wonderful time. With that said, she leaned forward and nibbled sexually on his earlobe, hand returning to the underneath of his pants before he could stop her. If only you're as honest as you're not so little. Before she could finish that, the door of his room was forced open, revealing a rather annoyed Rias Gremory and a teary-eyed Ashio Argento, both of whom were looking directly at Naruto and Evelyn, his smirk whitened sadistically as her hand moved furiously in his pants. It seemed that those peaceful days, that he could just spend his free time playing League, was long gone. 3 months. It had been 3 months since the day Naruto became a devil, 2 weeks after the Battle of Kuo Academy. In all truths, not much had changed for him during that time. For the most part, his life had been relatively peaceful, falling into a slow, but satisfying if not sometimes difficult routine, with the amount of intense training his masters had been putting him through. He now had 2 jobs, sort of. The first of course being a devil. Over the past few weeks he had been able to sign several long-term contracts with his human clients, taking all the requests that they had for him, ranging from the normal household chores to the ones like acting as a butler for the younger girls, or spending times talking to people who had accumulated stress from their jobs. Naruto wouldn't call himself an expert in handling most of other people's problems, but he had his champions, several of whom were some of the wisest and smartest individuals of their world, to help him with them. Aside from the everyday devil jobs, being a devil servant of Rias Gremory also meant that there were the occasional stray devils hunts. However, with their recent accomplishment in defeating Kakabiel and his fallen followers, not that many stray devils were stupid enough to wander into or try to take residence in their town anymore, leaving Kuo a stray devil-free town for the first time in a long time. The other job he had was not so much of a job, but it gave him no less enjoyment than being a devil, and it was being the unofficial landlord of Uzumaki household, charitable home for homeless champions of the league, as Evelyn had put it. Technically, his parents were the ones who had that right. Ah, good morning Naruto. Greeted a beautiful woman with shoulder-length black hair wearing a soft navy blue cotton sleep shorts and black tank, flaunting her slender but incredibly well-endowed body, as she stood near the kitchen counter with one hand on the coffee machine. Coffee. I will have a cup. Thanks, Ahari. Naruto grinned, accepting the cup of hot coffee from his Vastane champion, who gave him a playful wink, before she walked away with her own cup, tail wagging behind her as her round ass swayed seductively with each step, like a glorious sculpture, firm and eerily artistic against the silk material of her short as it curved down into her shapely thighs and long legs, giving him such a good view that Naruto didn't bother to force himself to look away. Like what you see. Having gotten used to having Evelyn appearing randomly from nowhere to tease him, Naruto wasn't surprised when he heard her all too familiar seductive voice that was in a whisper right next to his ear. Good morning to you too, Evelyn. Naruto greeted while casually taking a sip from his coffee as he turned to the side to face the ancient demon of pain, Evelyn. Who had an amused and flirtatious smile on her face as she stood dangerously close to him with her arms crossing under her incredibly large breasts, being barely hidden behind his scanty top. Fancy seeing you up so early in the morning. Is there any particular reason for you to be here and not in your evil lair watching BDSM porn? which I'd love to try with you one day. Evelyn winked before she pointed over to the refrigerator, which had a note pinned on it. Grafia won't be coming back too late, so I will be in charge of making breakfast today. Great, then we will be counting on you to deliver, Naruto said, grinning widely. Unless she suddenly decided to poison the foods, he had no complaints. He loved his mother's cooking, just as much as he loved Ria's and Grafia's foods, but Evelyn was hand down the best cook in the house. She really wasn't kidding when she said that she had tried to do everything, with cooking definitely being one of them. You know I always deliver. Evelyn gave him a wink before she walked past him, making her way further into the kitchen before waving a dismissed hand at him. Now shoo, unless you want to jerk off here or have kitchen counter sex with me, which I'm all for, by the way. With that, she swung her hand around and smashed her left buttock, making it jiggle enticingly in front of him, before she grabbed the whole thing and pulled it to the side with a teasing smile, while biting the corner of her bottom lip. Naruto could see why she and Ahari were best friends. The two of them knew just how to drive men, especially hormonal teenagers like him, crazy. However, at least Ahari knew modesty and how to behave like a normal young woman, and didn't act like a horny slut for the majority of her times of the day. Their relationship sure had improved a lot, and Naruto no longer felt wary of her, but that still didn't stop her from trying to have rough hardcore sex with him. Though, by the way, if you are heading out to see the Tin Can Man, tell him to stop spoiling his oil on the floor, or else I will make sure that the only thing that he can use to replace his ripped-apart torso is the old washing machine in the basement. Evelyn shouted after him, her tone lacking the usual flirtatiousness. In all honesty, she sounded quite annoyed and angry. It took me hours to clean up his mess last night. Don't worry, I'll tell him, Naruto answered back with an amused smile before taking another drink from his coffee and starting to make his way out of the house, where he could see a 7-feet-tall robot pushing a lawnmower on the front yard of his house with his extra-large hands, releasing steams and cracks of electricity with each quick but heavy step he took. With Japan being the land of rising robotic technology, it wasn't that difficult for Naruto to convince his parents, as well as their neighbors, to believe that Blitzcrank was just an ordinary robot. Morning Blitz. Naruto waved his hand at the great steam golem, who turned his head and raised a hand to wave back at him. I take that you heard what Evelyn just said. Sorry. Blitzcrank answered apologetically in his deep robotic voice. It's cool. Don't worry about it, Blitz. Naruto grinned with a meaningful wink toward the steam robot, while waving a hand in front of his face before he asked, by the way, where's the other gardener? The robot turned around and pointed a hand toward the garden, making Naruto turn his head to look and find the infamous Yasuo, the Unforgiven, pruning the new bonsai trees carefully and expertly with a pair of scissors. His face was calm and relaxed, even after catching the rock Naruto threw at him with the tips of his index and middle fingers without even looking. Chuckling, Naruto finished his coffee and turned around to make his way back into the house, leaving Blitzcrank and Yasuo, who both had moved into his house about a week ago with Ahari, to their works. Later that day, Saturday was the only time of the week that Naruto spent his whole day working as a devil. Even though daytime devil jobs were rare even for his master, he did have a few clients whose wishes required him to come in the morning. For example, the housewives that needed someone to help them with the shopping for their families, or the ones who wanted something done before dark. Nevertheless, today Naruto was out working, and almost as soon as he had activated the teleportation magic circle in his room, he had gotten a summoning request from a new client. With Yumi riding on his shoulder, and book floating just a bit behind his head, Naruto arrived at that person's home in a flash of red light. The client wasn't around, so Naruto took a second to look around the room, seeing many high-class furniture, a clean and polished floor with a number of soft rugs, a chandelier hanging down from the ceiling, above a set of luxury couches and table, in front of a giant flat-screen TV, which was even larger than the one in the living room of his house. Whoever that just summoned him, they appeared to be quite wealthy. Ah, you must be the devil mentioned in the contract. Welcome, welcome, said a voice coming from what appeared to be a kitchen, before a tall man wearing a teal-colored yukata walked out with a huge smile on his face. He appeared to be in his 20s, with a somewhat average build, black hair, golden bangs and black goatee. The moment Naruto saw him, however, he couldn't help but feel that something was off about him. Good morning, Naruto greeted, keeping his tone calm and friendly, and then introduced himself. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, a devil of the Gremory House. He then gestured his hand over to Yumi before continuing. These are my friends and familiar, Yumi, and her companion, Book of Threshold. Greeting, pleased to meet you all. With that, they shook hands, with Yumi raising a paw up to greet their client, before he gestured his hand over to the couch. Have a seat. Would you like to have some tea? I'm actually making it in the kitchen. Sure. Naruto smiled, and took a seat on the couch with Yumi, as his client turned around to make his way back into the kitchen, without so much of introducing himself or even giving him a name, something that Naruto had taken notice. As soon as the man had left, Yumi leaned over and asked him in a low tone, Naruto, don't you think there's something fishy about him? And I don't mean it in the good way. Naruto nodded his head in agreement. Yeah, and he didn't look surprised when he saw you. We don't have many clients like that, do we? Now, there's no need to act so suspicious, said the client as he walked back into the room with a teapot in his hand. I mean you no harm. I'm back, Azazel-sama. But before he could finish, the front door was opened, and Naruto turned his head to see a very familiar black-haired young woman walk in. She had violet eyes, a slender body, but with a very large bust, and long silky black hair that went down to her hips. Her attire consisted of a short black dress with a small, light purple jacket on top. Ah, it's you. Naruto pointed his hand at her and uttered in surprise, recognizing the girl almost immediately as she stared at him with eyes as white as dinner plates, looking quite taken aback by his presence. What's your name again, Rainer, is it? Naruto then widened his eyes in realization, remembering the name she had used to address the man with as he slowly turned his head to look at him. Oh yeah, I forgot to properly introduce myself, didn't I? The man asked while rubbing the back of his head, before turning fully over to Naruto with a wide grin. At that instant, 12 black wings grew on his back, having the color of pitch black darkness, a shade that was even darker than that of Kakabiel's. My name is Azazel, and I am the Governor General of the Fallen Angels in Grigori. Pleased to make you acquaintance, Naruto Uzumaki-kun. So after that, Azazel asked you to show him how to play a game of League. That's it. Naruto nodded his head in confirmation as his master's words. The two of them were at school with the rest of the occult research club. It's Wednesday, so they were at school to do their assigned classroom cleanup duties the student council had given them earlier on that week. I see. Although it's decided that the meeting of the leaders of the three factions would be held in this city, to think the governor of the fallen angels would show up so suddenly in our town without us knowing like that, did he try to do anything to you, Naruto? She asked, looking both worried and annoyed. I don't think so, but he did look at Yumi with a magnifying glass-like object. She didn't like it, but I don't think he cared. Naruto answered, looking down at the cat who was currently laying on his lap, napping soundly after she had stuffed her stomach full of the fishes the Azazel had given Naruto as payment for his service. Usually, he would have negotiated with his clients for cash, since he was saving money for a trip to Iceland to watch the most second important International League of Legends tournament, the Mid-Season Invitational, MSI, in Iceland this summer. But decided not to and took his leave as quickly as he could. He's indeed very interested in my sacred gear. Asked a lot of questions about it too. I heard that Azazel had a deep knowledge about sacred gear. That's true, so if there's anyone who can help you understand more about your Runeterra arsenal, it's probably him, Naruto Uzumaki-kun. Suddenly, they all heard a voice, and everyone in the occult research club turned their heads to see a finely dressed handsome man who seemed to be in his early 20s, walking into the room with Grafia holding the door for him. He has shoulder-length crimson-red hair and blue-green eyes, similar to Ria's, and in fact, his facial features made Naruto think of him as a male version of his master, who had stood up and looked at him with her eyes widening in surprise. When he saw him, Rias let out a surprised voice as Akeno, and the others got on their knees, to respectfully greet the crimson-haired man. Ashia and Zenobia both had confused expressions on their faces, not knowing how to deal with the situation. Like them, Naruto wasn't bound, but it was because of Yumi. Unlike Azazel, it was quite easy for him to figure out who he was, with just how much he looked like Rias, and having Grafia accompanied him. Please relax, I just came for private business today. Telling that to them, allowing Akeno and the others to raise their heads, Surzichus then continued while looking around the room, having an amused smile on his face as he said, Hey, Rias-chan. Don't you think that this room looks a bit like a cult gathering place? With all those magic circles, strange symbols and rebellious teenagers. When he saw me, what are you doing here? Rias crossed her arms and asked doubtfully. Surzich's Lucifer merely smiled, before he handed over a letter. What are you saying? He asked with a wide grin. Class visit is coming in a few days, right? I am also thinking of participating. I want to see my sister working hard at school up close. Now that he mentioned it, Naruto would have forgotten about that too, if his parents hadn't been talking about it all week. Personally, Naruto didn't mind having his parents around when he was in classes, since the two of them had been really looking forward to seeing how he and Ashia were both doing, with his mother being the one attending for Ashia, and his father for him. Grafia, right? Are you the only one who gave that to my brother? Yes, the letters arrived yesterday, so I decided to give them to Surzichus-sama and your parents. The silver-haired maid calmly said, of course, as a servant of the House of Gremory and assistant of Lord Lucifer, I report everything to my masters. After hearing that, Rias let out a sigh. There's no way that she could argue with such logic, from Grafia no less. Even though I have my duties as Demon King, I want to participate in my little sister's class visit, so I decided to take a day off from work. Surzichus said with a smile, placing a hand on his sister's shoulder. Oh, by the way, our father will also come. Hearing that, Rias looked deeply troubled. That is not true, isn't it, Wani-sama? You of all people, should know better than anyone, that a Demon King cannot play favorite with a specific devil. It's not okay. She told him, but Naruto had a feeling that it wasn't the only reason Rias didn't want her brother to come see her on class visit day. Also, with someone like Grafia working as his assistant, even though her main job nowadays was to supervise him, Naruto had a feeling that she wouldn't let her master skip work that easily to come and see his sister. There must be another reason. No, of course not. Surzichus shook his head and answered, "This is actually my job too, Rias. The conference between the three factions will be held at this school, so I am also here to inspect the meeting place." "Wait here?" Rias asked in shock, and around the room her servants shared the same feeling. We all have agreed that this school seems to have a destiny attached to it. You, the younger sister of Serafol, the legendary Sekirute, the creator of the holy demonic sword, bearer of the legendary holy sword Durandal, and the holder of a brand new type of sacred gear. Surzichus said, nodding his head to Naruto before continuing to his sister, "This is a phenomenon that cannot be labeled as a coincidence." "I see," Ria said unsurely, nodding her head in understanding before she sat back down on the couch and allowed her brother to walk further into the room and greet each of his sister's servants one by one. When it was Zenovia's turn, the blue-haired girl was the one who made the first move, walking towards Surzichus with a curious look on her face. "So, you must be the Demon King Lucifer," she said, before introducing herself. "Nice to meet you, my name is Zenovia." "Nice to meet you too, Zenovia. I'm Surzichus Lucifer." Surzichus smiled friendlily before taking Zenovia's hand and shaking it. "I received the report from Rias. The bearer of the holy sword Durandal reincarnated as a devil, and it was even mentioned that she became part of my sister's family. Truth be told, I was doubting my ears when I first heard it. Truth to be told, I also did not expect to become a devil, to be reincarnated to the side that I swore to kill." She trailed off, looking to the side and starting to doubt herself once again, as usual. The past few weeks, Naruto had realized that Zenovia was the type of girl who boldly did what was in her head, but she would always end up regretting it later. "Hahaha, it's great that my little sister's family has a lot of interesting people." Surzichus let out a laugh before continuing, "Zenovia, please continue to support my sister with the best of your ability. I'm counting on you." "Well, if it is a request from the legendary Demon King, then I have no choice," Zenovia said, switching back to her usual confident self. "I don't know how much I will be able to do, but allow me to do what I can." After hearing Zenovia's words, Surzichus smiled and nodded his head. "Thanks." And with that, Surzichus turned his attention to the last devil in the room, and smiled as he walked toward him. "I believe this is the first time we meet, isn't it, Naruto-kun?" "Yes. Nice to meet you, sir." Naruto smiled, and offered Surzichus his hand to shake. The crimson-haired Demon King smiled and took it, not minding that Naruto was still sitting. The Kit Kat napping on his lap looked so content that no one wanted to move her and disturb her sleep. "Nice to meet you as well." Surzichus grinned as he then took a seat next to his sister, accepting a cup of tea from Akeno. As she walked over with a new teapot, "Grafia told me a lot about you. Only the good things, I hope." "Yes, and that you are having a great time with your champions." Surzichus smiled as he took a small sip from his drink. "To be honest, I would too if I had the power to summon characters of my favorite video game. You have no idea how much I want to see a real-life Mario when the first Super Mario Bros. Came out years ago." "Didn't know you were a gamer too, Surzichus-sama." "Actually, I'm not. I only play video games when I'm with my son, who's only 10-year-old, and is better than his old man." The crimson-haired Demon King shook his head and said, "He admires you very much, by the way. He thinks that you have the coolest power." "Yes, Grafia-san has told me." Naruto nodded his head with a soft chuckle before he asked, sounding hopeful, "Does he have a favorite champion, Surzichus-sama? If he wants, then surely I can set up a meeting for him. On the condition that the champion wasn't evil and hell-bent on destroying the world, of course." "He does, but I don't think it's a good idea, Naruto-kun." Surzichus chuckled forcefully while waving a hand in front of his face. "His mother has been on my ass since I spent the whole weekend playing League with him. She will be pissed if I do something that encourages him to play the game even more, you know. I mean, she even told Grafia." "The correct decision, Surzichus-sama." Grafia spoke up calmly, making Surzichus chuckle softly while scratching the back of his head. Nevertheless, he really loves Draven, so on a special event, like his birthday or something like Christmas, for example, if you can convince the glorious executioner to dress up as Santa Draven and show up, then it'd be totally awesome," Surzichus said, laughing loudly as if he had gotten an amazing idea, until Grafia arrived at his side and made sure he understood that it was not. Naruto, meanwhile, had a thoughtful expression on his face right after he heard the word Santa Draven, which was a Draven's skin. Skins. He jumped out of his seat with a start. The whole club room went silent and all eyes turned to him. At the same time, Yumi let out an angry meow as she was violently woke up from her sleep, rolling off of his lap and landing on the floor, but fortunately having the natural instinct of a cat. She did so safely and gracefully on all four of her paws. How come he had never thought about that before? "Naruto, what?" "Come, Yumi, book." Before the magical cat could finish her question, Naruto had already grabbed both of them and ran to the door of the clubroom while holding Yumi and Book in his arms. Before he left, however, with his hand on the doorknob, Naruto turned around and said to his friends, as well as the two powerful devils in the room, "Sorry everyone, but there is this thing that I must try immediately. Kiba, can you take care of my job for me as well?" Sure." The noble knight answered with an unsure smile. "Awesome, see you back at home, President Ashia, Grafia-san. It's an honor talking to you, Surzuchi-sama." With that, Naruto left the room without saying any other word. There was a moment of silence, before Surzuchi broke it with a small laugh. "My little sister's family has a lot of interesting characters indeed." After a moment, Surzuchi turned his head over to his sister and said, "By the way, Arias-chan, there's something you should know. I wanted to tell Naruto-kun too, but yeah, he left before I could do it." "What is it, Wani-sama?" "It has been requested by the Phoenix that we allow Ravel to transfer to Kuo Academy, so that she may gain experience living in the human world." Surzuchi smiled as Ria's widened her eyes in surprise, and obviously, it has been decided that Naruto-kun will be tasked with helping her acclimate in her protection. It also means that she will stay with you at his house, so make sure to tell that to him when he comes home tonight, okay? Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification, and also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.